Now, I have created a file. How can I read data from a sequential access file? Reading a sequential access file needs the file to be created. So, I need to create a file pointer. The simple syntax is make use of the keyword called file to create a file pointer. Then making use of that file pointer, you go for your function calls like fopen. You give the target file name which you would like to open. Please don't forget, try to give the mode in which you would like to open. If the mode in which you wish to open were read, have your mode operator as R. You can make use of fscanf to read from the particular file. Like scanf, except the first argument is a file operator. Fscanf has its first operand as its file pointer. Then you can have everything as like what you had it in your scanf statement. Now you read the data, that is, data is read from the beginning towards the end. What is the file position pointer? A file position pointer indicates the number of next bytes to be read or written. It is not really a pointer but an integer value. It specifies the byte location. It is also called as the byte offset. You have another thing called as a rewind of my pointer. It repositions file position, or it rewinds the position of the pointer towards the beginning of the file, or it positions the pointer towards byte 0. This is how you read data from a normal file. Then how can I have a sequential access towards the file? This cannot be modified without the risk of destroying other data. So it involves a bit of data overwriting. How can I have a reading of data from a sequential file in a formatted way? A formatted output, it has different representation in files on screen than internal representations. For example, 134 and minus 890 are all ints but have different sizes on disk. So care should be taken while we try to read these different sets of data from a given file. The other kind of access that we can have for a file is termed to be a random access, or the other variety of files that we have is termed as a random access file. What is a random access file, and how can I have creation, modification and updation of values inside a random access file? A random access file accesses individual records without searching through other records. It straight away peeps on towards the particular record that you wish to have. It has instant access to records in a file. Data can be inserted without destroying other data. Data previously stored can be updated or deleted without overwriting. How can I implement this? It is implemented using fixed length records. Sequential files do not have fixed length records, whereas random access files would like to have fixed length of records. Say for example, you can have a byte offset. It should be of size say 100 bytes. Then every record should be of a fixed length. How can I create a random access file? How is data getting stored in a random access file? Data usually happens to be unformatted, that is, it is stored as raw bytes in a random access file. All data of the same type use the same memory. Imagine in the previous slide we said that 1 minus 892 is not going to hold the same amount of memory in your disk, but here all data of same type will use the same memory. All records of the same type have a fixed length. Data is not human readable, it is only machine readable. Then how can I create random access files? You can make use of unformatted IO operations. What are unformatted IO operations? That is, you have functions like fwrite and fread. What is fwrite? It transfers byte from one location of memory towards a file. What is fread? It transfers bytes from a file to a location into a memory. Then what are the parameters that a fwrite function takes in? It takes an address, that is the location to transfer the bytes from. Then it takes off the number of bytes to transfer, that is the size of int. Then 1 is a number or an integer that we have within this function. What is this for? It is for the arrays, number of elements to transfer. How many elements would I wish to transfer from one place towards the other? At last I would have a pointer, which is a pointer towards a file from where I am going to make the transfer from. Then fread is another function that is more similar towards fwrite, and the number of arguments are again going to be the same. Then in the next step of creation of random files, I need to have a mention towards writing structures. Structures can also be made use of using your size of operator. Size of is an operator that returns the size of an object within parentheses. To write several array elements, you can make use of a pointer to array, that is a pointer to array which is your first argument. Then the number of elements to write is given as your third argument. This is how we make use of or we create random access files. How can I write data randomly towards a random access file? You can make use of a function called fseek. What is fseek? It sets the file position, or it sets the file position pointer to a particular position. How is this done? This fseek takes in as parameter 3 different things. 1, a pointer to a file. 2, the offset, that is the file position number. And then it takes a symbolic constant, that is it specifies where in the file we are reading from. The seek set or the seek starts from the beginning of the file. The seeker says that the seek starts at the current location of the file, and seek starts only at the end of the file. So these are the various things that we have with fseek. Then fread is another function that reads the specified number of bytes from a file towards a memory. What are the different parameters that a function fread takes in? It takes in a pointer, a size of an operator, then the number of bytes to be transferred, and then another pointer. This can read several fixed sized array elements. It provides a pointer towards an array, then it indicates the number of elements to be read. To read multiple elements, specify the number of elements in your third argument, that is the number of elements that you try to read. So these are pretty good demonstrations about the various ways of handling files in C programming. It started with knowing the data hierarchy, it moved on to the different kinds of files, and those different kinds of files had different modes of operation. The categories of files happen to be sequential files and random files, and we got to know how to create, modify and update the various contents in 2 different kinds of files. With this, we come to the end of files in C programming.